There we go. There we go. Where's the pre-show thing? It's around here somewhere. There we go. There we go. And then we need to reload that page. Boom. There we go. And we need to go to this page here. Sound. What do you mean sound? You mean like you can't hear me sound? Oh, the sound is clear. Well, then, thank you. I have had, this is not lemonade today. I've had more water in the last 5 days than I probably have in the last 5 weeks. Jeez. I'm low. Okay, I'll speak a little higher. I probably need to lean into the mic a little bit. How about that? I am actually, yeah, I adjusted the camera and I forgot to adjust the shot. So let's adjust the shot just for the fun of it, shall we? You know, one of the nice things about vMix 24, the beta, is that what used to be called multi-view in the input menus is now called layers. It's layers/multi-view, but it makes so much more sense. Oops, that's not the layer I want. I want the layer that is that camera right there. Let's just drag it down a little bit. There we go. Now we're happy. Why am I drinking so much water? Well, as some of you know, Sandy and I, my wife Sandy and I, tested positive for COVID and went through probably 3 days of what felt like the flu. Everybody says, you know, stay hydrated, all that kind of thing. So, you know, I drank a lot of lemonade. And they suggested, we had a nurse friend that suggested that that we start taking a lot of extra supplements to kind of build up our body, build up our immune system. And one of them was a big horse pill. And that horse pill, excuse me, forgot to hit the cough button. That horse pill apparently damaged my esophagus way down here, actually lower than that, to where I thought it was kind of chest pain, not heart pain, chest pain, but like lung pain. So I went to the doctor and they took x-rays and said, you know, your lungs are clear and you don't have strep throat. So, you know, take this inhaler and go home. And the first time I used the inhaler, it was like breathing fire. It was just like, and it was beginning to sink into me what was going on. And then later on in the day, I said, you know, I need to do something good for my body. I'm going to go get some orange juice because it's high in vitamin C. Drank the orange juice, fire again. And then I realized I have a wound or an inflammation or something right here that is reacting to the medication and reacting to things with acid in it. So I cut acid out of my diet, which meant no more lemonade, just water. And overnight, it was a difference. The pain went away. I mean, it was just shooting pains. It was awful. So was that COVID related? I guess if you're doing stats, you know, you want to rack up one more stat for post-COVID problems. But it was really stupid related because I was taking a big old horse pill and I should have cut it into smaller pieces. And then I wouldn't have wounded myself internally. So there you go. But if you're thinking about getting COVID, I highly recommend it. You get huge amounts of sympathy. I didn't get any from my wife, but from other people, it was just, you know, locked on sympathy. It was great. My mother is just gone over the moon. Of course, she's 87 and she doesn't want her children to die before she does. But it's been really funny to see people's reaction to it. You know, it's like, oh, well, yeah, we'll stay away from you. Not that we've been out in public a lot, but once we got past the contagious period, of course, we've been out in public a little bit. And, you know, trying to respect distances anyway so that people feel comfortable around us. So I'm not masked up today. So if you feel like you need to mask up, by all means, go right ahead. You know, I've sanitized the microphone here, so we're probably in good shape. Do you sense a bit of ivory in my voice? Yeah, there's some ivory in my voice. Oh, you mean irony? Yes. There's some irony in my voice too. I think this COVID thing is so overblown. I have from the very beginning. Now that I've had it, I'm 65 years old. I've had a heart attack. I've got 5 heart stents. I'm a walking time bomb, so they say. Not really, but and it was like the flu. It was like the flu. Not from Barbados, but you know, I understand there are people that don't do as well, and there are those that have lost loved ones to it. But still, I think it's been a huge ado about a problem, an overreaction to a problem that has hurt lots and lots of people, lots and lots of people. They've lost jobs, they've lost income. There are people that are going to go into bankruptcy. Their lives will be ruined financially for who knows how long. Anyway, let me get off my my soapbox about this. What's Maggie saying? Maggie's saying, "Yikes, Tom! I didn't think I would be saying. Did I miss something else?" Maggie said, "I don't think I'd be saying that, Tom." Yeah, as somebody that's had it and somebody that knows people that have family members that have died and it's been attributed to COVID, I'm respectful of that. But for the hundreds of thousands of other people or millions across the world, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people that didn't die, their economies are in shambles. Their towns and their cities are in shambles. It's going to take decades to recover from this in lots of ways. I was reading an article yesterday, and we'll get started with the fun part of the show in just a minute. But I was reading an article yesterday about a fella in Chicago who was writing in and saying, "Hey, look, what's going to happen? I need some help because we've had this rent. Well, it's not rent forgiveness, but it was eviction. It was an eviction, a temporary hold on evictions. And so if you were a tenant in an apartment or something like that, you couldn't be evicted if you didn't pay your rent. Well, he was like 4 months behind on his rent. So that was like, $5,000, which he didn't have because he was unemployed. And at some point, he gets evicted. Maybe not this week or next month or the month after that, but sooner or later, the other shoe falls. I don't know. Maybe the federal government comes in and pays everybody's rent. And you think about not only is that guy being affected, but the guy that is the owner of the building. And he's got a mortgage on the building, so he can't pay his mortgage. I mean, the trickle effect on this stuff is just huge. So anyway, no, not intended to be anything other than my little rant for the day. So I got that out of my system. So there you go. All right. Well, yeah, no, I don't mean to diminish the reality of COVID for so many folks that get it. But I'm saying, we've done a poor job of controlling it, and we have, I think, overreacted in so many ways. I mean, closing schools. I've got 2 grandchildren, 6 and 10. Their parents tested positive. The children are, they live in the same house. They were exposed as well, you would assume, and they're just bopping along. They're I won't say impervious, but it just seemed to bounce off them. And the parents, had one day where they weren't feeling tremendously well, and then went back to regular life. So, not everybody dies. Not everybody has a terrible experience. And for those that do, we're certainly sorry, but the fact of the matter is we're all going to die. It is our destiny. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. So let's do the jaws of death, and let's get started. Well, hello, I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. Delighted to have you with us today. Really excited about today's show. Just a teaser, we're going to talk about when you live stream to YouTube, how can you embed your YouTube stream into your website and embed the chat into the website in such a way that either the video or the chat or both can be popped out so that people can pop it out and they can move it all around and do whatever they want to, because that's what we do here at Streaming Idiots for our website at easternshorebroadcasting.com. Anyway, delighted to be here today. Before we get into that, I did want to make a quick mention, and let's see, I've got something that we can use here. Yes. Let's find the right page. This is and it's really small text, but bear with me, okay? This is the vMix forum. This is the general discussion area. And you might note right here, if you can see my red cursor mouse, it says NVIDIA GeForce Driver Performance Notice, November 20th. That was posted 7 days ago. And if you haven't seen this, I think it's really interesting, so I wanted to bring it to your attention. And this is from Martin Sinclair at vMix. And Martin says, in recent testing, we've come across a significant performance issue in vMix with GeForce driver versions greater than 452.06. The symptoms are much higher GPU usage, as shown in the Windows Task Manager, when using multiple video sources such as cameras, NDI, and video clips. Installing version 452.06 or lower versions instead will not have this issue. Until we can investigate this further, we would advise anyone on newer driver versions to roll back for possible. Regards, Martin. P.S. For those curious, the issue relates to a performance problem converting YUV video formats. 8x HD cameras can be converted in under 10% GPU usage on a 2060, while with the latest drivers, this jumps to 65% or more. Okay, so the idea is, what does all this mean? Well, what it means is you might want to test. You can check your driver pretty easily. Shall we do a driver check? Yeah, let's do a driver check. All right, so here is, that's just regular my desktop. We're going to go here to Device Manager, and we'll pull up that. And very basically here, and again, I know it's kind of teeny, but you can do this at home and see it all. Right down here is something called Display Adapters. And if you click it, it's going to drop down. It's going to tell you what display adapter you have. I have the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060. Thank you, Tim. And if I double click that, it's going to open a window, and I can go and click the driver tab, and I can check and see what the driver is. And here's the driver version. Now pay no attention to where Microsoft puts the periods because they just put them wherever the heck they want. But you can see, if you read from the last 5 digits, 452.06, that I have version 452.06. That's the one that they recommend. All right, but if you find you have a higher version, what do? Well, it's very easy. You simply go to NVIDIA, and you go get the lower version. Now, in that same thing, let's bring that window back up again. In this same thread, and that is the vMix Live Production Software Forums, the general discussion on NVIDIA GeForce Driver Performance Notice, November 2020, there is a link down here from DWAM. Thank you, DWAM. DWAM, that's Guillaume in France, who has put a link to the NVIDIA where you can download any version from any year. And I think the first page pops up all the versions that were done in the last maybe 18 months or something like that. You can scroll back and find 452.06. So that's the problem. If you have experienced this high GPU usage as shown in Windows Task Manager, then you may want to give this a try. In fact, you may want to give it a try anyway, just to see if it helps you out. Might help you out, and you probably want to keep up to date with your you need to keep paying attention to the forum, is what I'm saying. Or heck, you just pay attention to us. That'll do. Pay attention to us, and everything will be great, and we won't have any other problems. There we go. Okay, so we got that all figured out. If you have any questions about those, shoot me an email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com. I'd be happy to help you, wrestle with whatever that issues that you think you might be helping. And especially if you bought your vMix from us, you have long-term, lifetime technical support. The next thing I would like to talk about is the YouTube thing that we alluded to at the very beginning. Let me bring up a web page that may or may not look familiar to you. Let's go here, and then we'll go here. And this is the Eastern Shore Broadcasting webpage. So if you come to the webpage, you see the bird dog camera, and then if you scroll down, you see today's show. This is today's show, and we can click it and make it work and see that, today's show is now a copy of today's show with a copy of today's show with a copy of today's show. You get the drift. So let's pause that for just a second. And that's embedded on the front page of our website. It's also embedded if you go to the Watch Live tab on the website, and we'll go to the Watch Live tab, Q Watch Live tab. There we go. And this is the Watch Live page. And there are two things on here that are really, really important. One is, here's the embed of the video again. And right below it, here's the embed of the chat. Now, both of these can be popped out so that you can, let's see, I think it's right over here. You can say pop out chat. Yep, there you go. And then if I'm watching this, I can go full screen. I think if I watch on youtube.com, then I can pop it out there. And then, of course, you've got all the YouTube settings. Oops, let's pause that one so it doesn't start again. There we go. So the idea is, okay, how do you get all this good YouTube stuff right there where you want people to see it? For folks that are using YouTube for their church and they want to embed it on their church website, or they're using it for business, they want to do business website, or for sports, they want to do on their sports website. I mean, the whole idea is, how do you get that YouTube stuff to appear right there? Well, it's really, I was going to say it's really simple, but once you get it set up, it's really simple. It's like, once you learn how to drive a car, driving a car is easy, right? Okay, so let's start with the very beginning. So let's go back to this page right here. Yeah, there we go. This is the page we want. And this is we do WordPress for our website. It's nothing fancy. If you've ever been to the website, you can tell that. This is the Watch Live page. This is the same text right here that you can see. And then there are 2 blocks. And in these blocks, we have some code that we have accumulated over the years. I don't remember who sent it to me. I apologize. If you sent it to me, let me know and I'll give you a shout out. And this code basically is the embed code for our website for YouTube. And it is specific to today's video. Now, let me be really clear about this. I have to go in and change this every time I do a show in order for today's show to appear there. The reason for that is when the show is done, that becomes a video in the archive, and it will continue. In fact, it'll continue to populate this page until I change it for next week's show. And so it's a pain in some ways, but it's a real benefit in others. I like the benefit part of it. I'm willing to endure the pain part of it. So going back to that just a second, you're going to say, oh, Tom, will you give us this code? Yes, of course I will. I will post it in chat in just a second, and I will also post it in the YouTube description. So if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, you can go into that. And if you're watching this on Facebook in the Streaming Idiots group, I'll put it there too. So I haven't done it right yet, but I'll put it there too. But if you take a closer look at it, and let's see if we can zoom in just a tad on it. Can we zoom in? Can we zoom in just a tad on it? Would it be okay to zoom in just a tad? Yes, let's zoom in just a tad. Okay. So what you see there is we've got a line of code right there. And in this line of code, see that word embed right there? That's kind of the key word, because that means, well, and actually you can see right before it, it says youtube.com, youtube.com, embed, and then this gobbledygook that happens to be 11 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those 11 characters are the embed code for today's broadcast. And they will, never be used again. So I don't mind showing them to you. In the next box down, we can see this is the YouTube live chat. And the same embed code starts after the V equals. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, why am I counting 1 through 11? Why is that important? Well, I'll tell you why it's important, because a lot of times you look in there, as you saw just a second ago, and there are a bunch of other different characters, especially in the live chat one. Let's go back and look at that one just a second. Especially in the live chat, you can see there's a question mark, and then a V, and then an equals, and then there's our code right there. And then there's an ampersand and an AMP. So it's like, okay, ooh, golly, I don't remember, where did I start? Did I take out the ampersand? Did I do something like that? If you take out one of these characters, it's not going to work. And if you put it in the wrong place, it's not going to work. So it's a matter of and that's why that's why the 11 is a lifesaver to me, because I know I've got 11 characters. So if I go in, and in fact, we're going to set it up as a fake one. So we'll do that now, and I'll show you where I get these embed codes. So let's pop on over to, and if you have a question, just raise your hand. It's like, what do you mean raise my hand? How can I raise my hand? You can't see me. I know. I'll try to get. I'll pause after this, and we'll get to some questions. All right. So we're going to go to YouTube, and let's see. Let's get our crop out of the way. So we'll go back to YouTube right here. There we go. And this is my channel dashboard. So if you've got a YouTube account, you go to your dashboard. It's going to look something like this. This is last week's show. This is the number of subscribers. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. By the way, if you'd like to subscribe, we'd love to have you. Some published videos, how they've done, latest comments. And then up here, really in the top right-hand corner, this is where the action is for what we want to do now. And this is the new, the new studio. The old studio, the Classic, was much easier to work with, I think. But things change, and you got to learn to change with them. So we're going to click the Create button here, and now we have 3 choices. Now you may not have 3 choices because you may not have an account with YouTube that allows you to live stream. If you sign up with an account today, I think you have to wait 24 hours before you can live stream. You might be able to upload videos, but you may not be able to go live. And that's what we want to do right now. You say, well, hold it, Tom. I thought we were getting a code for a future stream. Why do we want to go live? Well, we want to go live because that's what YouTube calls it. Take a chill pill. We're going live, but we're not going live. We're just getting ready to go live. At some point in the future, we will be live. So we're going to go live. So we're going to click the Go Live button. Clicking the Go Live button. There we go. And it does, depending on who and where you are, you may or may not see the screen like this. You may end up on the stream page, and this says today's, actually this is a different stream. You may end up on the webcam page. Well, that's not what we want. Or you may end up on the manage page. Aha, that's what we want. And there's a great tutorial that I think David at Live Streaming Pros did about how to set up and schedule a stream. So I'm not going to go slowly through that, but let's say we want to schedule a stream. I'm going to schedule next week's show. So I'm going to click Schedule. I'm going to use a template that I've already created, and that's what David goes into the details about what goes into that. And so I'm just going to reuse that one. And then I can go in, I can change my title, I can change my description, I can set it up for, the 9th of next week. I can change the thumbnail so it has something different than that. And then let's just do that so that we have something different. Let's just do it with that one, just so it jumps right out. And then we can create it. Now, is it made for kids? No, it's not made for kids. There are a bunch of questions you have to answer if it's made for kids. So say nay, not made for kids. And you can go through the details on this, but I want to just zip through this so that we have now created a future live stream. And boom, there it is. It didn't have our thumbnail, and a lot of times it doesn't. It's really funny. YouTube is kind of crummy about keeping that. The next time you go here, it'll probably have the right one. All right, so we've got this one made, and what we now need to do is we now need to go into it. So I'm just going to click it and pay no attention about this error because it doesn't want me to be streaming where I'm streaming right now. Pay no attention about the guy in the curtain and all this other stuff down here. David covers. What we are really interested in is this share button right here, because this is where we're going to get our stream. It's where we're going to get our embed code. So let's get the share button, and then we're going to click the embed button right here. And once we do that, we get all this code right here. Aha. And what we are looking for, remember, we had YouTube. Let's see if we can get YouTube. There we go. We can get embed, and then this is our code right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint it. And as I paint it, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is the code right there. And I can copy it. And then just a few minutes ago, I showed you where to paste it. Depending on your website software, whatever service you use, the way you embed that code may be a little different. So you may have to talk to your webmaster or get some assistance on that. But the code that I'm going to put in the chat and in the comments and on Facebook is not this code right here. This is not the code. At least I don't think it's the code that I've got on my website. What I've got on my website is code that I've had for a while that, again, not sure. Oh, well, I know at least the height and the width are different. And this embed code right here is only for the video. I think it may embed the chat with the video, but I don't think so. I'll have to check one day. But it doesn't embed the chat separately. And that's the point that I'm trying to get at, is to have the video and the chat so that you can do what you want to. So as people are watching you on different devices, there may be somebody with a 55-inch monitor, and so he's got plenty of real estate, and so he's going to let the video take up this much of the screen, and he's going to put the chat over here so that he can see it on the monitor. Other people may have an iPad where they're not interested in the chat at all, so they want the video to go full screen. So there are lots of different ways to kind of take care of that. Let me show you one other part, and then we'll have a little discussion. This is a page in WordPress, and this is a theme called Small Biz Dynamic, which is obsolete. So don't try to go get it. It's not worth it. But anyway, let's see, can we condense that one back down? There we go. And so we've got all these things we can change that are kind of, supposedly make it easier for you to do it rather than going into WordPress. And one of it is the homepage, what's called homepage text and images. And so it just shows the homepage. There's the homepage right there. You recognize the bird dog camera. And then this block, which represents the embed of the YouTube. And so what we want to do is we want to go into the code for this page. This is the source code for that page. Now, it can be a little intimidating at first. Heck, it can be intimidating at second. But remember, we've got these sort of key words that we're looking for that say like YouTube and embed and stuff like that. So as we sort of scan through here, did I go too far? Maybe I did. Let's go back up. Oh, yeah, there we go. YouTube. Oops. YouTube, embed, and then a code. There is today's code, as a matter of fact. So we can know we go 1. Oops, that's the slash. You don't want the slash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Whoops. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. That is the only thing on this page that I need to change. And as long as I don't, mess it up and erase, that trailing quote or the slash mark at the beginning of that embed code, I'll be just fine. So if I say okay at this point, it will save it. And then, of course, in WordPress, I have to go in and I have to save this change so that it'll go live. But I didn't really change anything, so it really doesn't matter. So if you want to embed your YouTube feed on your website, I showed you on a WordPress website, but it will work on, I think, on virtually any website. Then that's the way to do it. So let's see if we had any questions about that so far. Don't see any right off the bat. Let me scroll through in a different, we'll pull up the vMix social and see if we have some questions. If you have questions and you'd like to know more about it, shoot me a question on email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com. So Dean is asking a question. Let's see if we can get Dean's question up here. Dean is saying, sorry, Tom, what is the GTX driver version you need or below? I believe it was 452.06. That or below, 452.06. And frankly, we can go back and talk about that for sure. I did the I decided let's test this. Let's see on my system if it makes a difference. So before I made any changes, I fired up Facebook. Excuse me. I fired up vMix. Loaded a bunch of cameras, bunch of graphics, bunch of stuff. I just loaded this this format for the Streaming Idiot show, and said, okay, let's go to Task Manager. Remember, it was Task Manager where this appeared. To the GPU, you go to the Performance tab in Task Manager and look on the GPU. And my GPU usage was, I don't know, 42%, something like that. And I did a bunch of stuff in vMix to see if it changed, and it might have incrementally changed, but it wasn't a big deal. So it was okay, 42%, and that was with the brand new driver, because I try to stay up to date on the NVIDIA drivers when I can. So I went and got 452.06, installed it, restarted my PC just to make sure we've got a firm foundation to go on, I guess is the best way to put it, and fired up the same preset in vMix, did all the same things I did with my cameras, loaded up Task Manager, went to the Performance tab, looked at GPU, and it was 40%. No difference. Now, it may be that a different type of preset or workflow would have showed up that problem, but the problem didn't exist for me, at least it didn't yesterday. So just thought that was interesting and wanted to pass it along. So if you're not sure and you say, well, I want to do everything I can to make everything as best it can, go ahead and make the change. It's certainly not going to hurt you. Well, I don't know. When did the 3 encoder thing come out with NVIDIA? I need to check on that. That might be the only thing. You might lose one of your encoders at some point. I'm not sure what the dates are on that. Dave, do you happen to know when the 3 encoder, when NVIDIA bumped up the driver from 2 encoders to 3 encoders? Sorry, didn't hit the button in time. The 452.06 is dated, I think, August 7th or 8th, depending on whether you're using the game-ready driver or the studio driver. And at some point, we'll talk about that, but not today. So there we go. Well, let's close out this section of, Dave says you don't lose any encoders. So if you go to 452.06, you will not lose an encoder, and you'll be safe from this issue until Martin can figure out what it is and fix it. And then we'll all update our NVIDIAs to the latest, greatest. While we're talking about updating, before we close out the show, I would encourage you, even though we're talking about backdating to an older NVIDIA driver, I would really encourage you to stay up to date on your Windows updates. Now, remember, Rich says that Microsoft puts out Windows updates on the second Tuesday of every month. That's patch day in the IT world. I don't personally recommend that you update on that Tuesday. I remember a couple of years ago when there was a Microsoft Windows update that came out that rendered all webcams useless for streaming. It was a mega disaster, and people were singing the blues big time. And I don't remember whether you could revert back to a previous install or not at that point. Anyway, it was a problem. It took Microsoft a little bit to fix it, and eventually they did and had an update that fixed it. So my advice to you is to use the ability in Windows to pause your updates and to pause them for, I don't know, a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks after Patch Tuesday, after Patch Day. And that way, if there's a sour update, you've given Microsoft some time to fix it before you go in and get your updates. Folks have asked me about the new Windows version 20H2, I think is what it is. How is, is it something we need to stay away from? Well, it does have the new Microsoft Edge browser in there that's pretty obnoxious and wants you to do all sorts of other things. But other than that, I haven't noticed any performance issues at all. And I try to keep my Windows up to date. Even in between Patch Tuesdays, Microsoft will throw out some updates. So it's always good to know what's out there. But don't update on Patch Tuesdays. So there we go. We'll close out and come back with questions and comments in the post show. Thanks for watching. Oh, and by the way, if you want to subscribe on YouTube, please do. If you're interested in joining our little band on Facebook, the Streaming Idiots group, we'd love to have you there too. So come join us. It'll be tons of interest. And by the way, this whole show is brought to you by Eastern Shore Broadcasting, which is my company. We design and build PCs for live streaming and are resellers for the Bird Dog cameras and the PTZ optics cameras and the Magewell capture devices and NDI devices and a bunch of other stuff. It's on our website. So, and we're also resellers for vMix. Almost forgot that one. Anyway, we'll be right back with the post show. Okay, now we are in the post show and you can see the comments. What was I going to do? I was going to try this other format. And let's try this. Will that work? Yeah, there we go. So we've got this comment from Dave Edwards that he says he's glad he switched from YouTube embeds. Previously, I never had to change the code each time, but I can see with the new code, with the new YouTube setup, it's necessary. Yikes. So Dave, I'd love to talk with you and see how you're using it and what you're using, and just how that's working for you. Dave has an answer to our question earlier that's about encoding and says, no, you won't lose the encoder. So if you go back to 452.06, then that will still have the third encoder for you. And then my old friend, George Price, good to see you up in streaming time. Thank you very much. I remember when George was really seriously ill. Was that last year, George? And so delighted that you were able to come through that so well. Way back in my early days with vMix, George, whether you realize it or not, you were my mentor. And you explained vMix in a way that I could understand, because I was struggling to understand it. And all of the tutorials that I read were not helpful. And you in your, I guess it's an Indiana accent, were describing about vMix and doing things with vMix. And it finally just hit. So I continue to appreciate you and salute you today. Very good. All right. So better late than never. We've got Herman here from Central Florida. Glad to see you. Herman came and visited us here in the Eastern Shore Broadcasting Studios a while back. That was great. Dave has a comment about the fact that when they do systems, they just disable the hardware updates altogether, as well as pausing them. And I would love to discuss that with you, Dave, because I think sometimes there's some updates that are pretty necessary, and there might be updates in Windows that vMix is counting on as it makes updates. So I guess there's a balance there you have to strike. And then in the question too, what's Dave doing instead of YouTube? I forgot that WSN, the company that he works for, has their own CDN. And they embed and do simulcasting from the back end, so they don't have to go through that nonsense every time. every time. That's right. That's right. Herman says it was just before this whole pandemic mess that they came and visited. Was it this year? Was it this 2000? Was it 2020? I remember you were taking your daughter and her friend up to take a look at some colleges, and that was part of it, part of the trip anyway. Looking back here, we see that that Clint is here. Welcome, glad to have you from the Bluegrass State. And Nicholas is here from good old Germany. Welcome. Glad to have you. And let's go on and go back and see what else we might have missed back here. Oh, Tim has a report on version 24. He says he's tested 24. It's crashed a few times. He's sent reports. That's interesting, Tim. What were you doing? What were you actually doing a broadcast? Of course, you weren't supposed to do a broadcast with a beta, but some people do and try to get away with it. And when you say crash, did it freeze? Did it disappear? Did it become unfunctional in one way or another? Love to hear your experience with 24. You remember last week, I think it was, I just had vMix disappear in front of me. I mean, it just, the vMix desktop disappeared, the vMix icon in the taskbar disappeared, and you could still hear the audio from the live stream. So even though vMix had disappeared for me, it was still streaming, and it was still functioning in a sense that it took the audio in. And I restarted vMix. I didn't restart the PC. I just restarted vMix and loaded the preset for this show, and then clicked the stream button again. But we were kind of already streaming. I don't know how that handled itself behind the scenes, but it was pretty interesting. So let's see. Tim said he was editing, and vMix just restarted all by itself. Oh, there we go. He was editing a timer, and the software restarted. Interesting. Ed would like us to basically recap everything that's been said. and Tim Dave has got the solution. He knows what happened. You just ran out of time. Careful with those timers. Dave, you are such a character. Such a character. Okay. And if you can't get here on time, get here when you can. Thank you very much. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Well, it's definitely interesting to work with stuff that is cutting edge, and vMix is certainly cutting edge in a lot of ways. In other ways, it's just old stuff that we're doing again and again. But it is a treat to be able to work with it. And and here's the thing: even though live streaming has kind of exploded lately, and a lot of people from typical production are kind of working their way down to live streaming and discovering tools like vMix, and trying to use them for traditional video production, traditional TV production. For those of us that kind of came up from the bottom as live streamers, because we weren't TV production guys, we weren't doing that professionally. We were doing it because it was fun and interesting, and we kind of moved into it. That community is it's not a very large community. It may be 10,000, maybe less than that. And it's growing. I think it's growing because more and more people are finding the desire for that, and they're discovering that it's happening, and then they catch the bug for it. But the beauty is that we have a community that really is still kind of small and still kind of personal, where they're personalities within the community. We've got George Price, who, at George, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know you're older than I am, and still streaming away. We've got, and I'm not going to name names, but a fella here locally in Fairhope that does the live stream for his church. In fact, he set it up. In fact, he sat down with me, and together we designed the whole system. And he's 83, and he ran it every Sunday while he's in church. I think their church is one of the churches that's decided not to do everything live in person. And so it's interesting that this whole new generation, can an 82-year-old be part of a new generation? Apparently he can. This new generation has kind of emerged in the last 10 years that have stolen away the keys to eyeballs, so that NBC, CBS, ABC, ESPN, Fox News, CNN, whatever, they are not the only one that can gain eyeballs. Now we have probably thousands, if not tens of thousands of, probably tens of thousands, yeah, of people that are live streaming out of their basement. They're live streaming politics, they're live streaming sports. Oh, sports, oh my gosh. When Taysom Hill starting for the New Orleans Saints, and I was kind of interested in that and trying to find out everything I could. I was finding all these sports broadcasters broadcasting from their basements that were doing a pretty good job. I mean, and you could kind of tell it was a basement. Every now and then there'd be a wire hanging down or something like that, or you could see the washing machine in the background, in the corner. But they had good critique. And they were making a go at it. It was fun. It was something they were interested in, and who knows? They might end up being the next Jim Rome. You just don't know. Yeah, here we go. Tim's got it. It said, we are the media, and we can make our own rules. Oh my gosh! There you go. Oh yeah, Rich. Rich is on the bleeding edge. He's called me bleeding several times. So there we go. Yep. Oh, here, Ed is posting his Christmas list, so I just thought I'd send it out there. Only 23 days until Christmas. Yep. I'll tell you what, Ed, we'll go ahead and build it, and then you find the donor for it. And they can donate straight to you. Oh my gosh. Let's see. This is Anderson from Barbados. Is it Barbados or Jamaica? I keep getting them confused. There are lots of programs where they do live shows from anywhere on the island, as well as bring in guests from all over the world. Thanks to COVID, they woke up. And yeah, I think the COVID thing is going to change a lot of how we look at broadcasting and how we look at communication. Yeah, just lots of things. Holy cow. Yeah, we might need to do a talk show on that. Anyway, it's been fun. Water. What's coming up? Well, I know that NAB has been rescheduled for the fall of 2021. that IBC has been rescheduled for the fall of 2021. I think they're about 3 weeks apart, maybe 5. And so it's going to be interesting to see how companies that we know and love in the live streaming industry, how they respond to that, whether they end up, with both, whether they don't go to either, whether they have a minimal exposure on one and a major exposure on the other, or vice versa, will be quite interesting to see. We would hope, with the fact that, number one, a vaccine for this virus is due out in a matter of weeks, possibly even days, that by next fall, next September, October, that all of this would be behind us to some degree, or that there would be pathways where there are not pathways now. Even though as a virus survivor, I think I have some amount of immunity. Once I'm offered the vaccine, I think I'll probably take it, just because, number one, it probably can't hurt, and number two, it may open doors for me as somebody that's been vaccinated, that you can travel certain ways that you can't travel if you're not vaccinated. So it's going to be interesting and fun to watch as we look forward to IBC and NAB next year sometime. That would be like, less than a year. There you go. It's less than a year to NAB. Woo! All right. Very good. Last week we did mention that we have some older gear that we're rebuilding and repurposing, and we want to make it available to churches. If you know a church that would like to live stream, maybe they're live streaming with their phone because they just don't have any budget, we're going to sell this stuff at cost. So we're going to basically take the CPUs, which I think are i7 4770s, good solid CPU, the motherboard, and then add a graphics card. The ones that we got actually came with a single camera capture card, so we'll freshen that up, and then put all that into a case with a keyboard, and I just need more water here. A keyboard, mice, I think maybe a monitor. We'll have to see about that, because a lot of people have monitors available. In fact, a lot of people have keyboards and mice available. And then perhaps with a camera, perhaps not. I mean, you can get a nice little Sony Handycam for $150, $200. And that would do a great job of doing a live stream for a single camera shoot in almost anything. Dave says the capture card you showed can be purchased online for $395. Really? That expensive? Holy cow. The capture card I showed last week, I guess I moved it, it's a Magewell. Don't remember the model number, but basically it's a single camera HDMI or component input. Don't think it does both at the same time. I think it's one or the other. And I tested it out the other day, and it's pretty little picture, no problems. I think it's going to work nicely. So if there's if somebody's out there that knows somebody that whose church could be helped with that, then you want to get them in touch with me, again, by email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com, or they can go to the easternshorebroadcasting.com website and use the contact form. Let's see. Dave says the capture card was $395. And Martin, thank you, Martin. Martin says the card Tom shows is the Pro Capture DVI. And it does have essentially a DVI port on it. Really interesting. And of course, I ended up with just the cards. And Magewell was kind enough to send me a cable that is the breakout cable, the pigtail for that. Tim said he got one for $65. That's great. Anderson is giving medical advice now, apparently. Anderson, you missed the first part of the show where I talked about my lemonade. Basically, I had a scratch in my throat, and so I had to give up anything that had any kind of acid or sugar in it because it was just very, very irritating. And and honey does work nicely. I had some chamomile tea with honey last night that really did soothe things out. Didn't have any vodka or whiskey. I'm not a big drinker. I mean, if we were all out together, I would have a drink. I sure would, and it would be fun. But you know, it's not something I'm going to go home and pour myself a drink. In fact, don't think I've ever done that. All right, Tim says USB. He has 4. Not sure we're talking about the same thing, Tim. This is actually a capture card that goes into the PC and mounts inside the PC. All right, Ken Robinson, welcome, Ken. Let's see what Ken has to say. To come to Australia once the vaccine has been released, our major airlines, Qantas, won't let people travel to this country unless you have the vaccine. Well, there we go. Good to know, because I'd very much like to come to your country. Very much, very much, very much. All right, Martin has given us some more information about this card. It can capture DVI, VGA, HDMI, YUV, or composite. Ha! For HDMI or VGA, you only need the sort of adapters that were included with the GPUs for connecting to DVI outputs. Oh! So if I got a DVI to HDMI converter, I wouldn't need to ask Magewell to send me that pigtail. Martin, you're a lifesaver. That's going to make this whole process so much easier. So, and that would work with VGA. Interesting. So I could take output from a VGA monitor or an HDMI monitor or a DVI, I mean, not a monitor, but an output from an HDMI computer, a VGA computer, or a DVI computer, and it would show up in this. Oh, that's cool. That is really cool. All right, and Anderson says, hey, look, dude, I've been here the whole time. I didn't just pop in. Okay, well, I just wasn't sure if you heard my explanation at the beginning as to why I wasn't drinking lemonade. All right. Well, thank you, Martin, for that input. You're always on task and on time with that kind of comment, including this one. The HDMI, DVI, and VGA DVI adapters are smaller, cheaper than the special cables from Magewell. Well, a clue, Magewell will send you the cable for free if you don't have one. I talked to, well, maybe not Magewell, but mobile video devices. So that's, I mean, free is free, but it also costs them something. So yeah, and everybody's got a DVI to HDMI adapter or a DVI to VGA adapter hanging around. I've got a bunch of them in a drawer. And they are definitely cheaper and they're definitely smaller. No question about it. No question about it. Yep. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Thank y'all for your input today, especially Martin and Tim and Anderson and Ken and Dave and Rich and all of you that Marie and Jan, all of you that chimed in today. I do appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you whenever we can see each other again. So until next time, that would be next week. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Stay clear of COVID, and thank you. We'll see you. When will we see you? We'll see you next week. Next week. Thanks for watching.